Number four top story is payment methods in Venezuela. This is from B57, May 26, Econ territory, 7 comments, 2,061 cents. Keon, what's this?
Yeah, so beef has been. I think they're from Peru, but they've been spending time in Venezuela and are kind of documenting all the weird kind of socialist things that go on in Venezuela, and like I think we covered before, like subsidized gas and how that works. Um, in this case, they're checking out. They're giving us a rundown of how payments work, and the weird thing about it in this case is that uh, when you go to a store, everything is priced in dollars, U.S. dollars, and then if you want to pay in bolivars, the local currency, you can get one of two rates, and so there's like a real rate which most stores use, which is much higher, which probably reflects like the actual inflation of the bolivar. And so in that case, I think they do an analysis here, and they call it parallel rather than like the black market rate or gray market rate, which in a lot of other contexts you'll see it described as. But like if something is $200 listed in the store, the parallel rate right now would be 27,000 bolivars. But then but then in some stores, the ones that are regulated by the government, and have to use an official exchange rate, like the government's official exchange rate, which always probably underreports inflation. They call that BCV, and in that case, you'll pay less. So if you go to a store that uses BCV, you'll pay less, and $200, you'll for something that's quoted at $200, you'll pay 19,000 bolivars. And then I guess they also encountered a biopago um, payment terminal, which is you can pay with biometric um, information. I guess the government has everyone's fingerprint or something,
Gosh.
and they can associate that with a bank account and allow you to pay for stuff that way. So that's yet another way, but I would guess it similarly is either using the parallel bolivars or BCV bolivars. And they ended it by saying they continue to search for somewhere that they can spend Bitcoin, and they're kind of frustrated or surprised that they're unable to find somewhere where they can spend Bitcoin, because they know that a lot of Venezuelans are hip to Bitcoin and aware of Bitcoin. And they said the only place they could find anywhere that appeared like they might is a store that had a Binance QR code, but like I think like someone reported, or Malos 10 reported in Venezuela, uh, photographer. He said that most of these places that have these Binance QR codes aren't accepting Bitcoin; they're accepting Tether. Um,
Of course
yeah,
they
but
are.
great rundown of what's up in Venezuela. These are pretty cool. I mean, it's totally totally foreign concept for many people, but I would guess this kind of, as far as I understand, many countries have this type of problem, because most of them have these, sort of like sub hyperinflating currencies or hyperinflating currencies, and they have these official exchange rates and then real exchange rates.
Yeah. There's one from Bitcoiner One. He says, according to BTC Map, there are some places where you can pay with Bitcoin. And then he has a couple dots here. I've met Venezuelans with a Binance account, and they only use it to send and receive USDT. They didn't know about Bitcoin. In my opinion, for you to hold sats, you need to have a little bit of savings on a currency, and you can use to buy foods or services. That's why Venezuelans only hold some USDT. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been down there, but I suspect they're, I mean, just from what I've seen in Mexico, and just from what Francisco tells me, and then obviously, I'm releasing a early days podcast on Tuesday with G from San Antonio, and what he tells me over there, and just what I've seen in South Texas, and everywhere. I've just come to realize, like, these people just don't have any financial literacy. Like, they just don't understand. how the world works with money. And so if they don't understand how money works or where it comes from, there was an interesting post. I don't know if you saw on Stacker.News this week about the tooth fairy and how like, did you see that post? And his daughter, one of the Snacker's daughters, asked one of the Snackers like, why does a tooth fairy give money or something, or where does the money come from? How does the tooth fairy get money or whatever? And she was keen on asking like, where does the money come from? And I think these type of questions just don't come out of these types of people. Those questions never cross their minds, and I think that's where we just need to start. But
Well, not yet. I would guess like back in like the I feel like the 1940s, Great Depression era. I think people had reason to be interested in money and its value and where it comes from and what it means. And I think we'll likely enter another period where that's true, and then they'll forget again. Just people have to have like a reason to care about something, and Bitcoiners care about it. I don't, either by accident or because they have, an interest in it. Like some people have an interest in hockey or basketball, and kind of lucked out with that interest. But I would suspect we'll get a lot more people understanding money when the dollar begins to have more obvious problems globally. We're just a ways away
it's
from that.
also those things too. Like, do you ever see the North Korea thing where I think it was like a CIA op or something where they were dropping like USB drives over North Korea and like informing them of like what was going on in the world or so. Did you ever see that where they were doing that?
Oh no, I don't think that was a CIA op. I think that was like a human rights.
Oh, human rights thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a human rights thing where they would, I think they basically gave them a USB drive with like Wikipedia on it,
Yeah. Yeah.
or yeah, like, or just major breaking news stories, so that they could disseminate the things that are actually going on in the world
Th-
inside the country, which has like this massive like filter around what people can learn and know.
that's what I think we need to do with like Latin America is just drop like financial literacy pamphlets, just like drop those all over Latin America, so they know actually like about this stuff. Because I actually think that's the problem there. Just from talking to
That's,
these community leaders,
that's
and
a
I think
good
there's
point. I think
just
that, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no. I was just gonna say that's what I really think is lacking there. It's just financial literacy, and there's just these people that come in there and they take advantage of that. Whether the people that come in there and take advantage of it, whether they know it or not, that's what's going on. And so that's what I
Yeah,
see.
I think oftentimes those people don't even understand money themselves. They understand how to like work within the existing system and make it work for them. But I don't think they aren't buying Bitcoin yet. They don't really get it. That was like a big theme that I saw over and over at the Bitcoin conferences. The kind of the suit class of Bitcoiners were would regularly say that the institutions aren't even here yet. Like everyone thinks that the ETFs mark the arrival of the institutions, but it is like a tiny fraction of their portfolios. They still don't get it, and it will probably still be a long time for them not to get it. And I was going to say before about education in Latin America and elsewhere in the world, financial education. We do have those programs like My First Bitcoin
Yeah,
and Bitcoin diploma. But I wonder if we could. I wonder if there are programs where they don't even discuss Bitcoin. Um,
right.
Maybe Bitcoin is like a very small part of it. They simply just discuss monetary theory and then kind of let people come to their own
Conclusions.
conclusions. It might be easier to get, um, you know, I, I don't know, uptake on it because people do have a weird feeling towards you coming at them with a Bitcoin initiative because I think you're like pumping your bags.
Yeah, totally. There used to be this gold guy I used to listen to. I don't know if his name was Malone or Mike Malone. I forget that guy's name. I used to watch his stuff all the time, and I thought he was so fascinating because he would just go through the whole history of like Rome and I forget his name.
Mm.
He was amazing. He would do
The
this whole
YouTube videos?
yeah, they were YouTube videos, but he would do this whole docu
Yeah.
series. Do you remember Malone? Was that his name?
Yeah. No, I don't. I know exactly what you're talking about. I
He was like a
watched.
Graham Hancock, but for like currencies. A
Yeah.
fascinating guy. I loved his. I would just binge on his stuff. Like right when I got into, it was like around 2014, 2015 when I was getting into all that stuff. I was just like watching it, just
Yeah.
fascinated by it.
I've shared it before. I think Darthcoin is a fan, and
Super, but he's somebody that taught me how all that worked, and I think because before then I didn't understand any of that stuff. So I think that's where we, yeah, I think you're right. We just need to start with like financial literacy and go from there. Cause it took me a really long time to understand that. It took me years, um, literally years. It took me like 2 to 3 years to really understand it at a core level. And I'm dumb as rocks. I'm like really dumb. So it's like, if it took me a really long time, it takes a long time to stick. But anyways.